Hi, I'm JD Lifshitz, and this is Trailers from Hell. Today we're going to talk about one of my 3 favorite serial killer films of all time, Richard Fleischer's 10 Rillington Place. Now Fleischer, I've mentioned before on this show, he directed everything from Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to Amityville 3D in the 1980s, and much in between and before and after. And he was the son of Max Fleischer, I believe, who was a big animator, and just kind of the quintessential journeyman filmmaker in the business. He had such an incredible range, and was always able to like elevate these jobs into something remarkable, at least most of the time when it was possible. And this is just such a powerful movie. I saw Sean Durkin, who is in his own right created a lot of great unnerving material, comment that this movie feels like you just watched a journalist follow people around, and it just really feels like a documentary. It just strikingly authentic. In fact, a friend of mine recommended a wonderful magazine interview with Richard Fleischer, where he discussed making this and Compulsion, and with Orson Welles and Boston Strangler, which I've talked about here before, and just the way he approaches these films and why they feel so lived in. But this one really is a powerhouse, and without further ado, I think it's best to just go to the trailer for 10 Rillington Place.
This is the #1 court at London's Old Bailey.
There are a lot of fascinating things to talk about with this movie, but one of them is that they actually shot in and around the actual location before it was torn down. Fun fact about the actual location. Tenants who moved in after the fact, of course, claimed that they felt a frightening female presence in the room. But this is a true story about John Christie, who was a serial killer in the UK for what was a very, very famous miscarriage of justice. In fact, I don't know if it's a spoiler because these are true things. This is a true story, so it's more about the journey than anything. But it essentially details this young couple, vulnerable couple that comes to move in next to Christie, and how he ultimately manipulates and murders at least 2 of the members of the family, and then has the crime pinned on the illiterate husband, unfortunately. And this is, again, accurate, a really harrowing, awful story. And actually, the hangman, whose name escapes me, who hung both Christie and his victim, advised on the movie, which is remarkable. But just all of the performances in this movie feel completely authentic. It's mesmerizing, and it's no frills. Like, it's not a Boston Strangler has all these wonderful flourishes and split screen and so on. This movie really, to my memory, has none of that. It all just kind of feels like the most direct point and shoot. And of course, Attenborough's performance is, maybe the best performance I've ever seen of someone just portraying madness. It's just deeply unsettling, and Hurt looks, to quote a buddy of mine, impossibly young. I mean, just looks, it really does, and embodies such an unflattering role. And it's just gut-wrenching. There's nothing fun about this movie. There's nothing. It's a really miserable experience, but it's a full meal. It never feels nihilistic or pointless. It all just feels true and just infuriating, but in a way that somehow manages to have respect for the subjects that they're talking about. Because Fleischer wasn't. I mean, he was anti the death penalty, and this movie, you feel that it's not so much that Christie is a monster. He is a monster, but it's how we respond to those things that I think this movie is really commenting on. And it's just so good. It really is. It's hard to overstate just how mesmerizing it is. You can't look away from it. Every sequence is so loaded. It's like there's a constant ticking time bomb on the movie. And it's funny, because this was during a period where Fleischer made a number of films in the UK, and I think Columbia, released this domestically. And it's just fascinating to me because it does feel so edgy, even by today's standards. The fact that this was a studio-released movie, and is just so unflinching and upsetting, it just shows you, I think, that also the debt that we all owe to Fleischer for kind of what he laid out, and that's 10 Rillington Place.
But true.
Christie done it. Christie done it. Christie done it.